everyone. I'm Anastasia with U.S. Harbors, and I'm here today with Juana Garcia. She is with New York City's Parks and Waterfront. I'm going to let her tell you a little bit about what she does for them in terms of acting as a harbor master or the equivalent of a harbor master in New York City. Welcome, Juana. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Good. It's great to have you on here. I've heard some really interesting things about your background and how you came to be the equivalent of a harbor master. I'm not sure you call yourselves harbor masters in New York. What is the
No, call ourselves supervising dockmasters.
right? And that there's so much traffic in New York City, you have to have a lot of people managing different aspects of that traffic, I'm sure. But you guys are responsible primarily for the recreational traffic. Is that what happens?
Yes, that is correct. Yes. I mean, we have people traveling from all parts of the United States. They travel back and forth. We also have people that come from the Canadian border every year, and we have, a big amount of people coming through the marina. We're very, affordable for them. They love coming to the marina because they always say how amazing the staff is and how helpful it is. So they always, make it a habit to stop at New York City, visit our harbor, get to visit all the important places in New York City, all the fun places New York City has to offer. So, because most of the people that work at the marina are all New Yorkers, we're great to, tell them, oh, well, this is a place, a good place for you to dine. You should visit this. So, they all love it. Pretty much do is make sure that they, each and every customer has a good time in our marina, that we meet, meet all their requests, help wherever we can, bring their boat in safely, make sure that they're comfortable staying at the marina. So, that's very important for us. Customer service is 100%, important to us. So, it's always, if they're happy, we're happy. And then, it's good to know that we're known for our good, customer service, because people come and we always meet new people, and we've had people that come many years already. So it's great to see faces, speak up, talk to them about where they've been, where they're heading, how's their trip. So it's always fun.
That sounds great. And it sounds like you stay super busy there.
Yeah, have so much going on there.
I didn't actually ask you at the beginning of this which marina you run.
I run the 79th Street Boat Basin Marina. It's located in the west side on the Hudson River.
And can you tell us a little bit more specifically about what that marina has in it and why it's different from the other marinas potentially?
The 79th Street Boat Basin, it has a it's diverse in every single way. I mean, we have boaters that come there just for a simple, dock and dine. We have, commercial boats that do pickups. We have moorings where most of the people traveling like to go with the sailboat. And we also have, people that live on the boats in the 79th Street Boat Basin. So they're, we do have some liveaboards in the 79th Street Boat Basin as customers that just come and go during the winter. And we're, in such a very important and wonderful spot in the city, on the west side, where we close to pretty much 42nd Street, walking distance from Central Park. So we're close by with so many things. The current is very strong around there, so it's very interesting. But people just love coming here.
Those listeners who don't know much about New York City boating, 79th Street Boat Basin is on the Hudson River, and that river does have some significant currents. Can you speak about your experience with that, or tell us how the boaters do with it?
Well, as my boaters in particular, Mother Nature is your friend, right? So we our currents. We have to, it's very important for us to know the current, what the wind is doing, so we can safely bring in a boat, speak to the captain, let them know these are the conditions, this is what's the safest way for you to approach. Is part of our job to make sure that they are safe, as our docks are safe, as we are safe. So there's a lot that goes into planning, and a lot of captains are not experienced with the current, and they underestimate Mother Nature, and that's the most hardest part. But as dock masters that we are, we have to know exactly what the current is doing to make sure that they come in safely regardless of their experience or not.
There's a lot of traffic, water traffic in New York City, and it is moving at a really fast pace.
We have a lot of ferries, all sizes, shapes, and dinner boats, and we got kayaks in the water. We have paddle boarders. So it's a whole bunch of people sharing the harbor. So the most important part for everyone is making sure we monitor the radio. The radio is key for safety for everyone. And, everybody pretty much knows each other's routes. So it's more like, okay, this boat goes here, that boat goes there. So, it's just knowing, the law and managing, and keeping open communication is key to moving around the harbor. So that's key for safety, just communicating and moving, moving and knowing what everyone else is doing, and, keeping an eye for kayakers that we might not see.
Everybody can see that it's super complex, and we have a variety of harbor masters that we celebrate, from tiny towns with less than 200 people living in them to huge locations like yours in New York City, which is really, really terrific. Before we get too far into this, can you tell us a little bit about your very interesting background and how you got into this position? It's really awesome.
Well, I am from Brooklyn, New York. I started being interested in the maritime field when I started high school. I went to the New York Harbor School, which is a maritime-based high school. And they basically opened a new world for me, with experiences of like how to, test the waters, waterways, teaching me about anything you can, boat building. So I've had, I've been very lucky in experiencing that, not like many other, students. I actually started, the New York Harbor School started almost in the middle of Brooklyn, nowhere near the water. Since then, the school has moved over to Governor's Island. And so that's where my interest in the waterways began. And I was just so amazed of another world that is not familiar for me. After that, I did a few years in Kingsborough Community College with the marine technology program, and that it was just like opened me up to like learning about marinas and the oceans, and I always say it's it's a different world, maritime world versus here the land. So what actually caught my attention was the fact that there's not so many females that work in marinas. It's a main industry mainly dominated by men. So it was just more intriguing. I know it would be like a very challenging career because there's always been that, I always say that those standards and that bar to meet between a female and a male. But I've always been up for the challenge. While I was in Kingsborough, I started working at the New York Water Taxi Company. And there, I worked my way up. I started as a bartender, moved up to deck. And after I did deck for a few years, I became their first female captain, and ran their water taxis for, I believe, 5 years, before, I decided it was time for me to look for more opportunities and more experiences in the waterway. So, working for Parks Department has given me the other knowledge of what it is. I always bring the boats to fuel at the marinas, call the marinas, but they really didn't understand the concept on how a marina works and operates. But definitely now working for Parks Department, I see, everything that goes on in the background rather than just pulling, your boat up for fueling and say, hey, just fuel me up and that's about it and get going. So yeah.
Wow, that's a great story. Very different from what we are always doing interviews with harbor masters around the country. And your experience is so unique. Now, tell me, how did you end up in that high school? What an interesting evolution.
The way I was introduced to the harbor school was during the time in New York City where a lot of schools wasn't performing, where they took big schools, the lowest grading schools, and they divided them into smaller schools. And I remember Murray Fisher came to my junior high school and introduced, and it was one of 3 schools that came that day to talk to us about the possibilities of attending these high schools. And it was just motivating. Murray Fisher has a way of motivating you and actually involving you in so much. So, as soon as I heard, water and boats and building boats and learning, how to test the waters, it just like blew my mind. It's like, oh, I want to learn more. And so that's how I got, invested, and I have invested so much, for harbor school. Even after graduating, they helped me get my captain's license. They've given me awards, and I've always pushed to keep promoting the school, and going back to help and, and motivating, seniors to, pursue the waterways, especially for me in particular, allowing more females in the industry to keep coming, because there's still, even after this time, I still don't see as many females as as it should be.
I totally agree. We don't see as many females either. There are just not that many women in the marine industry. And I'm thrilled to meet you and hear you promoting and setting a great example for young girls. What would you suggest or tell young women who are thinking of getting into the marine business for a path, or things to look out for, ways to progress their career?
I think this goes overall for anyone. If you really see something that you really want, determination and dedication is key. There's plenty of help out there. You just got to reach out and ask for help for you, to be able to, get started. There's, plenty of harbor school is a great place. There's SUNY Maritime, there's Kingsborough Community College. So there is so many schools. It's just knowing how to do your research, being very determined and dedicated to your goals, and and pursue your dreams. It's like there's nothing that stops you from achieving anything but yourself. So I would say, if you want something, go for it, because you can make every wish and dedication, every wish come true, as long as you're dedicated and determined to achieve that goal.
That's really inspiring. So just going back a little, what are the biggest challenges you face in your role?
I think for me, there are times where the difference between being a female and a male has a lot to do with it, because a lot of captains have old superstitions that females do not belong in the water. So then I here and there I run into those problems where what I say doesn't really matter. So I think that to me has been the biggest challenge. But I always try to remind myself, that everyone's entitled to feel the way they feel, but I still have to be able to perform my job and give the best customer service I can.
And what do you love more than anything about your job?
I love meeting people. I love meeting people and speaking to them about their adventures, where they've been, how, it's amazing how small the community of people that travel around the world is, and how they know each other and they've gone to similar places and they follow each other around. And when I meet, families that travel together like that, that is just amazing for me, and it's a different experience. So I just, I love the people I work with. They're very, we're like a very, strong family, and we are, definitely great leadership. So, it doesn't make the job, it doesn't make the job hard at all to wake up every morning and be like, and just being in the water. I love being around the water. So between meeting all these amazing people from all over the world and just working near the water makes me happy.
Or anything that you have, in your dreams ahead of you?
Um, Currently I'm happy where I'm at. I mean, I, probably one day would like to, be able to operate bigger boats like the Staten Island ferry in New York Harbor. But right now, I'm very happy where I am. So, that's still maybe a plan, but not a plan to go forward with as of yet.
What else do you want to tell our users before we leave today?
Well, I love working for the Parks Department. I love running the 79th Street Boat Basin. And if there is, any females, males, anyone that wants to be part of, working for the harbor, Harbormaster, it's a great career, and it's something that you will enjoy every day, because it's a good job.